morning, Superkickin' with Steven fans, Steven and Greg fans right here. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this. Happy Saturday. Uh, yeah, it's been a week. We took a week off last week, but we're back this week, ready to go, ready to talk up all the good things that have been happening, all the bad things and in between. So, Greg, how in the world are you doing this week?
Hey, I'm good, man. Just living a dream out here in way too hot Arizona. And things are good, man. My Chargers are 2-0. Uh, Everything's going smooth around here. Just had a week of vacation. So went out to Carolina to watch the Chargers beat down the Panthers in person, which was awesome. Uh, First time I got to see the Chargers in the post San Diego era.
Mm.
So went out there and put a whooping on the Panthers, 26-3. It was awesome. I found some friends at the game and
Good.
had a nice little party out of it. So good times all the way around.
Yeah, you beat them so bad they had to knock out their starting quarterback.
Yeah, right.
So sounds like the Bryce Young era is over before it started. I don't know, but my Colts, on the other hand, yeah, if they lose tomorrow, it's gonna be a fun season, Greg. Because man, I know a lot of people are predicting no playoffs. I don't think division title or anything, but they got the Bears tomorrow, so we shall see. Caleb Williams and the boys, but you get knocked out by Malik Willis, who I don't even know how many games he started, if any, but yeah, that was a rough game. I guess the interesting thing is it's only been like a score, like with as
Oh,
bad as we played, like it was 16-10 last week. I thought what 28-21 or something, 22, whatever. So things to clean up, as they always say. But it's been a long week too. So we had our homecoming game at my high school last night, Craig. So we had a little pavilion for the 25th reunion, but there was not many people there. So I kind of did the Irish goodbye at Greg about halfway through didn't even stay for the game. So yeah. Then also had a first grade field trip to an orchard. So it was a busy Friday. It just felt like this week has just worn me down. So yeah, I am ready to talk up some wrestling because the first thing we want to talk about is Daniel Garcia. I think we've brought him up before, but now the rumor is WWE is chomping at the bit, Greg, to sign him. I, I know he's good and all that. I I feel like they really have to work with him to see what his character could be. Because now, I feel like just now AEW's kind of unveiling what he can be. So I don't see him going anywhere. I think that's why he was off TV for a little bit. It sounded like I think they were working out details about what he could, his contract extension and all that. Um, if he came free, yeah, I say go for it because he's a young talent and you've got plenty of time to mold him into what you want. But I kind of feel he's staying in AW for at least the next, run of his contract. What are you thinking, Greg?
yeah, I have to agree with you. Is I'm into Daniel Garcia now, and it's a big departure from when we first saw him
Hmm.
as a unknown coming up to challenge John Moxley for I think it was when he was doing the open challenge, or was it Cody doing the open challenge?
One of
And
those.
we saw him for the first time. Just random indie wrestler coming to take a shot at the open challenge. And that point, we didn't care about him, didn't know who he was, but he's gone through these stages of evolution, uh, joining with Jericho's faction, and then doing uh, the faction with the former 2.0 guys,
Hmm.
or not the
Yeah. No, that's
talking about
yeah.
Daddy Magic and Cool Hand,
Hmm.
uh, to right now where he's become more of a street character.
Hmm.
More, it's like if you met him, you figure that's the same guy in real life,
Exactly.
and that's what gets across on the screen. That's why he's getting over,
Yeah.
because he's so believable. When he gets in the ring and he talks on the mic, it's like you believe everything he says.
Hmm.
And he hasn't shown us any reason not to. He's been consistent from day one. Eddie Kingston is another one that can think of the same way,
Yeah.
and that's why he's so loved. Um, so that being said, him in a WWE environment, I can't picture it because everybody is so over the top uh, personalities that you would pull out of a comic book kind of,
Yeah.
and it would take some of that street energy he has away. Um, Even right now, I can't think of anybody on a WWE roster who is that level of just he is himself and he's not blown up 10x.
Yeah.
Um, so
I
it's
feel like
hard
they
to
would have
figure.
to. They'd have to almost like. I think they would definitely take their time with him, and down in NXT and mold him into what they think they want him to be, and a little bit of what he wants to be. So.
Right. What kind of character would he be? I mean, the dance, we love to dance, but even the
And bring
dance is
that
gone
back.
now
Yeah.
since the return. So, he was working that. I was loving it. Um, but now that's gone, and that was part of his shtick to get to where he is now, and now that's put on the shelf.
Hmm.
But for God's sake, don't go to WWE, and that'll be all you do. So I hope he stays where he is, and he's found a good niche there,
Yeah.
and people are going to be down with him as long as he stays on the trajectory he's on. But if he goes to WWE, he's going to be asked to be something completely opposite, and he's going to lose us.
It'd probably be like Brian Pillman with Lexus King. I mean, I think you totally would have to reinvent him somehow
Yeah,
and figure out what you want to do. I don't think they would go with the extreme of Lexus King, but I think it would be in that kind of vein. So, the other bit, there was also, I feel like we keep saying it, Greg. The Lucha Bros are headed here, but now they're still in their AW contract, so they did not put that into the rumors because it's one of those things, Greg. I think when we see it, we see it. So,
yes,
but there is this talk about. So we're going to get 2 hours of Raw here, in a couple weeks, I believe, and 2 hours of SmackDown. But then going to Netflix, they'll be back to 3 hours. So then the rumors out there that SmackDown could go to 3 hours. Um, I I think a 3 hour Raw on Netflix, Greg, is going to be interesting because you won't have. I mean, unless they do in-ad commercials or that type of stuff. Like I feel like 3 hours is going to be kind of a bit of a slosh at times. So I would like to go 2 hours, but it is what it is. So, but I do think SmackDown needs to stay at 2 hours. Um, there feels like there is overrun time, so maybe that's why they're doing that. And then even then, I was reading that it could start out 3 hours and see how that goes for about 5 or 6 months, and then make the switch back to 2 hours depending on fall seasons of USA Network or wherever they're at. So, what are we thinking with that? Like we said, Raw staying at 3 hours on Netflix, SmackDown a possible 3 hours on USA. What do we? That's a lot of wrestling.
yeah. That's what I've been seeing is that SmackDown is going to be 3 hours once they hit Netflix, or once
Raw
we
will
get to
hit.
the Netflix era. Raw is
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
be 3 hours, and SmackDown is going to be 3 hours.
yeah. It almost
So
ruins the pay per view set because if you got 3 hours of this, 3 hours of that, then why
right,
are we going to sit through? And they try to load up these Raws and SmackDowns lately, so you're really going to have to work on making those premium events even extra more, even more in depth watching.
yeah, I don't love the SmackDown going to 3 hours. SmackDown does seem more story based than Raw though, with the Bloodline angle. With uh, that takes a lot of time in itself. Just
Yeah,
telling a
that could give
story and
you more time
introducing.
to mess with other stories.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend a half hour just doing the Bloodline stuff,
That's true.
and because there's always new characters, there's always a 10-minute promo.
Yeah.
There's getting all the principal characters introduced and the angle introduced, and
Hmm.
then following it up every week. So just that itself is almost a half hour alone.
Hmm.
Um, and it does take away time from other talents that are on the roster, just
Yeah.
because Smack or the Bloodline is the moneymaker. Um, Everything Solo's doing, Roman being back, and whatever feuds they're doing, and then eventually the Bloodline Civil War. That's going to take a lot of time
Hmm.
and a lot of airspace. So I
Yeah.
get it, just because there's that story. There's uh, Naya and her business with Money in the Bank. There's a lot of big stories to tell. So
Yeah.
if you spend more time with building the stories, pulling our interest, and not overloading us with matches, then it could work. Because it's that soap opera feel to it. You gotta get us in, get us hooked, and devote more time to it. If you have a 3-hour show, you can devote more time to telling the story and making it as juicy as possible, so we don't tune out.
Yeah. And of course, like, and then that probably would stop you know, like now this dumpster match between Meechin and Chelsea Green. They're like, oh yeah, that's 2 weeks away, and then this is next week, but it's not. There's matches I think you could bump up and not have to worry about as much. Like you said, spacing out. You could just throw it on the show, even if it is a 5-minute squash match or whatever. But and still have time for everything else. So I think it will take some getting used to if they do go the 3 hours, but it probably won't mess with us too much because Raw's already 3 hours. So we've kind of already been
Yeah,
conditioned in a way for that. So um, I think it'd just be interesting to watch it on Netflix, just because, I don't know about you, Greg, but most of the shows I watch on Netflix might be an hour at the most, or half-hour episodes of this, or a movie
yeah,
that's, maybe 2 hours. So, um, I guess some of the superhero movies do run what, 2.5,
yeah,
pushing that's even pushing it. So, um, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to kind of see, our documentaries run an hour and a half, Greg. So, having Raw as a 3 hour show on there is going to be interesting to kind of see, and of course with ratings, I mean, with it being on Netflix, like, do ratings get out the window? Because I don't know how ratings work with streaming. So,
right.
that's kind of that's a whole nother ball of wax to unfold later on. But
Yeah, I still
obviously,
want to see how it goes with the transition to Netflix. The
mm,
only thing that I'm looking forward to and hoping
no edits,
is, right, no edits.
no
Plus,
censors.
you don't have to. Yeah, I mean, they can have saltier language because that's Netflix. You can
Yeah,
get away with pretty much everything. You can have an R-rated show
yeah,
if
yeah.
you wanted to, and you're having a program like Bronson and Strowman are having.
Hmm.
You take the tsunami on a car and the place blows up.
Hmm.
Holy bleep, and
Yeah,
uh, you lose about 30 minutes of audio,
yeah,
or not 30 minutes, 30 seconds of audio, because they're tuned out the sound because the place is going crazy and there's
yeah.
an expletive in there. So
Mhm.
more an AEW kind of vibe,
Yeah,
because you don't have to edit that out anymore, and the wrestlers can be a little more judicious with what they say, or a little more loose with what they say, and
if they
have
need
it
to.
come off more authentic,
Yeah.
because you know you're really feeling um, got your heat up about somebody,
Hmm.
or something that they did to wrong you.
Yeah,
You're not going to come out there and go, I'm just going to kick your butt all over Manchester.
yeah,
You're going to use much worse language.
yeah,
And so I'm looking forward to that. As crazy that sounds, maybe a little more blood in the matches. Like they don't overuse blood, but
yeah.
it does help tell a story. And, I still am against, having big cage matches, or no holds barred, or matches like that where
Hmm.
nobody's bleeding,
Yeah.
and because that would make sense if you got a match that's so violent, but nobody's bleeding. It doesn't make sense. So that kind of thing, once you pivot Netflix, I want to see that come through. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it?
Yeah. And like we said, we might not even, I don't think they're going to let everybody have the leash unleashed, Greg. I think there'll be certain people that, might get a little more leeway, but just the idea that, like, if people are chanting during a promo, we'll at least be able to hear the promo. Cause like you said, there's times when, like, The Rock was giving a promo and half of it was edited out because of, the crowd. So now we'll be able to hear all that. Speaking of Raw, here's some stuff that happened on Raw. CM Punk gave a really good promo, Greg. This is a little different side of CM Punk, I feel like, than we've seen in a while. Just straight up, saying he's going to take Drew McIntyre to hell. It's funny, that he called himself out on the next night on NXT, Greg. So I did like that bit of change, like he's here to just, entertain the crowd at NXT, but it's all business on Raw. So really good promo by CM Punk. We said before, I think that should be now. I guess, Greg, with the bloodline or the Roman Reigns and Cody versus Solo and Jacob, do you think that does take the place of the main event now?
I think so. They're building it up as such.
Yeah.
And I'm never a big fan of a tag team match of this level as the main event. I get, going back to storyline.
Yeah.
This is your moneymaker. So
Yeah.
I know something's going to pop off of this match that's going to push everything forward another mile down the road. So, it's not just going to be a standard tag team match. Something is going to happen by the end of the show that's going to have us all talking. So it makes sense, and I believe that's what's going to happen. That match is going to end the show.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you do wonder, because if they want to play in the history of Bad Blood, well, Hell in a Cell was the first Hell in a Cell match was at Bad Blood, so maybe they can, heck, maybe you could open the night with Jacob and Solo versus Cody and Roman. Just, give us the first, but that be the opener. Then that way, then we can kind of rest, give our mind ready for CM Punk. I hope they get CM Punk and Drew McIntyre the main event, honestly. I think they turned it. And if you're playing into the history of the first Hell in a Cell, Greg, I think Triple H is a history guy. Yeah. So either way, I mean, honestly, you can't go wrong with either match. I mean, because they both have their own. But do we think this is the last match of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre?
They're both talking that it will be.
It has to be. I mean, in a way, right? For now.
Yeah.
I guess if you, maybe run down the road, but for right now.
Right. I mean, they're both talking like this is it. This is the last one. So I hope it is, even though I've loved the program and the fact that we haven't had, I was worried about Seth getting too involved in it, but he's got written off.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And so it's played out beautifully, and, we can finish it here. We can revisit it later, because whoever wins, that beef is still not going to be 100% squash. You can get back to that later. Maybe one of them wins the world championship, and then the other pops up out of the woodwork and go, I'm not done with you yet, kind of. So, but I think for now it will be.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. So, Pete Dunne gets a big win over Sheamus. Natalya got a win over Zoe Stark. I really love the Braun Breaker Jey Uso. Jey Uso got that little dig in at the very end, didn't he? With the, your title reign, or this match could be shorter than your NFL career. So I'm really looking forward to that. I guess it does suck, Craig, because we keep saying, when is Jey Uso going to win that title? I mean, it's not going to be this match, right?
Right, and he keeps running into these tanks of guys.
Yes, and it's good that they keep putting him in these. Like, obviously, they feel strongly in him, and he's obviously proven himself. but I don't know when when the title payoff comes.
Right. Like I'm with you. It's going to happen. It's like it's going to happen yet.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a big way to elevate Braun. He's doing excellent work right now,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got his own following. But he
People
does
are
the
starting to
other
buy
dogs
into
barking.
the dog thing.
Yeah, it's working. I mean, the dogs are barking, and he's a
Mm-hmm.
heel right now. So imagine when he goes
Yeah.
babyface one day. Um, and being in there with Jay is lifting him up,
Mm-hmm.
um, putting him on a level with guys who are world champions and um, top of the card kind of guys.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all about getting Braun to that main event status because he's already made. Jay Uso's already there,
Yeah.
and getting wins over these guys is only going to help him.
Mm-hmm.
So I love this match, but this is the match for Braun
Yeah.
more so than it is for Jay. Jay will get his time with a singles championship. Just I think it's gonna be another couple months down the road.
Yeah. I definitely want to talk about Xavier Woods. He maybe finally getting some character development for him, Greg, because they lose the match for the tag team titles. He has to eat the pin while Kofi was out on the side trying to take care of business. Gets mad at LWO and Kofi, and we're gonna have to see. I think we're gonna slowly see that turn, Greg. Um, and I think it's much needed for Xavier Woods. And it's kind of funny because they're touting the 10-year anniversary of
Mhm.
the New Day. So if they can hook that up, find because I feel like that was November or October ish when they were all on like Xavier was in that white suit where he was almost looked like he'd just be the manager, Greg. So if we can
Mhm.
figure out what like you can align that date and then that's the final salvo for Xavier just to put the knife in the back of Caesar, as they say, A2 Brute. I think that would be such a good look for Xavier Woods, and even if he hooks up with the Final Testament, and let him just lash out and see where he can go as a maybe as a lackey to uh, Karrion Cross for a bit. That might help Karrion Cross get something finally, Greg. So
Mhm.
maybe not a lackey per se, but like maybe saying, okay, I see what you're seeing, and I'm gonna let's go do this or whatever. So yeah, I really think it's huge because we've seen Big E get a run, Greg. We've seen
Yeah.
Kofi get a run. Now Xavier Woods did get the King of the Ring win, but he also got squashed many times, and that he got his crown destroyed by Roman Reigns, Greg. So now it's time for like a good run for Xavier Woods on his own. So what did you think about the whole? Are we going to finally see that turning of the knife into the back of Kofi, Greg?
Yeah, it's going to happen. I'm down with the slow burn.
Yeah.
Let it build, leave more, time on screen for him. He deserves it. Um, it's like being a marching band. When you're the New Day, you see all three of them and not just one single
Yeah.
person. So you're always thought of as part of a collective.
Yeah.
And Woods has been the forgotten one, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
He's the I would say the member of the Beatles that we don't think about. Not Paul, not John, not Ringo,
Ringo?
but it was
Oh, he's George. He's the shy one,
he's George.
quiet
I
one.
think that's it. And he's the one that whose name doesn't come right to the top of your head. So I love that he's getting more time, more attention, and he's you know going to have that knife in the back moment. And then I can see him joining Final Testament uh, and becoming kind of like the mouthpiece for the Final Testament because
Because they need it.
they definitely need it. They Cross as much as I like him and want him to do well, he sucks on the mic. And Paul isn't going to talk, and ALP isn't going to talk, so
I
he
don't know
can
why we
be.
have Paul Ellering there, honestly, Greg. Like,
I don't get it. I guess it's for street cred, but that
and
doesn't
for
help because
a paycheck.
Right. The people who are watching today, the 18 to 35s, don't even know who Paul Ellering is. So, he'd be better as the one who holds the mic when the final testament is in the ring.
Mhm.
And, they can all get the Xavier Woods rub because, you know, New Day will always be Teflon and he's always be part of that. So,
Mhm.
um, it could be a great moment to elevate the rest of Final Testament into something that we can stomach watching, when they get in there. And Woods is the one cutting the promo on all their behalves.
Yeah.
Even if he goes to wearing all black, which we see he's started to do now.
Mhm.
Kofi's wearing the bright green, and
Mhm.
and Xavier's wearing black already. I think that's the first sign.
Yeah.
And
Almost
uh,
feels like a Mortal Kombat type thing. Like he's morphing into a darker character because of that. So, I
yeah,
mean, I'd even say give Woods and Cross the tag team titles at some point, Greg. And then
hey, there you
that
go.
really shifts the power, to final test. Obviously, you got AOP, who probably should be in the tag team division, Greg. But like I think that would be a good way to really get Karrion Cross, like we said, because his promos they're hit or miss. Like Scarlett, I feel like does better promos for Karrion, obviously, but
Yeah,
whatever reason, we're not letting her talk for him. So, like you said, Xavier Woods being that mouthpiece there could really finally get them going somewhere because they haven't even been on TV lately, I don't think. So
no, they haven't.
obviously there's something brewing because out of sight, out of mind sometimes helps things, right?
That's right. Yeah. So
Um, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm saying that once the turn happens, you could see have them come in out of the woodwork, out of the
Mhm.
crowd,
Yep,
and just stand behind them. And
embrace it. Yeah.
there he goes. He's kind of the de facto leader now.
Hmm.
And he's in his all black, and they're in their all black, and they look, you know, Wyatt sits S.
Yeah, and that could be who knows. That could be a few down the road too because you got the Wyatt Six as faces. Obviously, after American Made, Greg, they're going to need another heel group to go after. So,
There you go.
and especially if you want to play, maybe they could play into Karrion Cross wasn't the prophet he thought he was. So, you could
Yep.
really have some legs there. Braun and Braun Strowman, Big Bronson Reed. Are we getting a last man standing match here soon, Greg? Because they just keep going at it, and we're not getting any finishes. So, I would assume a last man standing here in the next couple weeks for them.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, um, no ring can hold him as of right now. I mean,
Yeah.
Bronson just tore the top rope off, slammed it into the corner. Um, and they're taking the fight all over the arena.
Mhm.
And, we're here for it. We're here for all of it. So the
Yeah.
best way to do this is either in a cage or in a type of last man standing fight. So there's still not going to be a pinfall involved. It's just going to be
Yeah.
somebody can't stand up. So, and I think it's the best way to protect both of them because, you're going to have a big old hoss fight and it's going to keep uh, elevating Reed and giving Strowman somebody that he can work with really well. Like
Yep.
like these two are meshing perfectly.
Hmm.
This is the way you do it because whoever wins, the person who loses is not losing anything,
Hmm.
and they're both getting seen in a brighter light,
Hmm.
and that's going to help both of them. So I love it, but last man standing has got to be where they're going.
Or I guess we haven't had a good parking lot brawl. What was it? The John Cena, Eddie Guerrero, where the cars were just like circled up, Greg, and
The Iron
everybody was in the
Circle,
back.
yeah,
Or Velveteen Dream and Adam Cole. Remember they had the parking lot, like they did the parking lot brawl too. So, I mean,
yep,
we've already had the car involved. So, if we're gonna pull out like we're doing a dumpster match, Greg, which we haven't seen in a while, so maybe we could pull out that good old stipulation out of the woodwork for Braun and Reed. So, um, when is Gunther gonna actually say yes to Sammy? Do you think we get this for Bad Blood? I mean, Bad Blood is it? It's 2 weeks, so
2 weeks,
I'm gonna.
yeah.
Oh, do we think we get that? Like, is there maybe he takes out Ludwig and that's the final reason to get the match happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 weeks in a row that he's told him no.
Mm-hmm.
I think he and Ludwig have a match coming up this Monday.
Yeah.
I think it may be one of those scenarios where he gets Ludwig in a compromising position
Mm-hmm.
and is getting ready to do some serious harm on him, and to stop it from happening, he agrees to the match.
Yeah.
That move.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what Sammy's going to do, if he has something to bloody him up with, or
maybe the
but
guillotine. He's
yeah,
done the guillotine tap out, or he's used that a couple times, like a finishing maneuver. So
yeah, so something to go Gunther into taking it, or his friend's going to you know he's going to get hurt bad, kind of thing. So Sammy's going over the edge, and Ludwig finally gives in, or not, or Gunther finally gives in. So I think something like that is maybe what they're thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
But it will happen, and we'll get that match at Bad Blood.
Io Sky got a win, and then finally we did have Damian Priest defeat Dominic, but all hell broke loose, Greg. We had Judgment Day standing tall. You had Braun Breaker hit a big spear on Jey Uso, because Jey Uso got the big spear on Braun earlier. So in the end, Judgment Day stands tall. Street trash going forward, Greg. So any kind of final closing thoughts on on Raw as we head into NXT?
No, I like that ending. Putting throwing these extra layers into it.
Mm-hmm.
Braun coming out of nowhere. I did not expect that, even after seeing the spot where Jay hit him with the spear. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about that watching the chaos happen at the end of the night. So that was a good add in right there, and Braun getting his payback. And it was a perfect way to finish it and get us looking forward to the next one.
Yeah. Yep. I do feel like the Triple H era is very good about melding, meshing stories together and not making it just like, no reason behind it. Like, Jey Uso's involved with the Terror Twins because obviously he has history with that, and then Braun's involved because now he's going after Jay. So it's definitely a Attitude Era-esque, where there's all, Stone Cold would team up with The Rock to go against Kane and Mankind or something like that, where, they each had their own kind of storyline going, but they just threw it in the pot together. So
and this was notorious for starting a storyline and not paying it off.
Yep. Starting to stop a lot of careers too.
Yeah.
So. Oh, and I guess speaking of Vince, we will have that documentary starting the 25th, Greg. I think the first episode airs. So
next week.
Because I think they released them like separately. So I wish you just binge it, but sometimes that makes you wait. So and stew on it. So all right. NXT stuff. So Ethan Page did not sign the contract at first, Greg. It took my Indiana Pacer star, Tyrese Halliburton, Greg, getting a few boos down there in Orlando, but he got the final dig in when he said, I'd boo myself too if I was an Orlando match.
That was funny.
It is interesting to see because, once again, Halliburton just has this good guy attitude about him, Craig. But man, he's trying to be a heel, and it's funny. Then you look at Jalen Brunson. Obviously that was in New York City, but you look at him, and you could see him being a heel. I mean, he's got kind of a street vibe about him. But anyways, so they finally did get the contract. We'll kind of book in the ends because that way it ties everything together. But they finally did get everything sorted out. But CM Punk came into the picture, Greg, and he will be the special guest referee for the title match in Chicago there on the CW on October 1st. So once again, I got to figure out where the heck to watch CW, Greg. I am hoping for an AJ Lee on-screen appearance, Greg, out of all this. But especially now that CM Punk got involved with Roxanne and Julia, even if it's, AJ coming out and maybe just doing a quick I can't remember her finisher move, but whatever she can, maybe to Roxanne and just kind
Yeah.
of get her in. But even though Roxanne definitely got the better end of that promo, Greg, where she said she should have been a fan of Drew McIntyre all along. So that was quite the dig at CM Punk, but I'm sure he was loving it in the inside. So a lot of CM Punk on NXT this past week. A lot of Halliburton too, Greg, because I didn't know how much Halliburton would be on TV. Now I guess I just hope that Royal Rumble time, maybe the Pacers, have a free Saturday night that Halliburton can, make an appearance at the Royal Rumble somehow. But what do we think about all the CM Punk business with being involved with Ethan Page and Trick Williams? Now he's going to be the special guest referee.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great to add CM Punk to the to NXT for a night, because it pops huge ratings when the main card stars go down. When Cody went down, they outdid AEW in the Dynamite in the rankings that week. I have no reason to believe this won't do the same thing. And like you said, he cut a great promo. And then when Roxanne came out, they had a great back and forth. And I was thinking the same thing that you were, that it would be great if AJ Lee was, behind the scenes ready to come back, and this would be her entry point. Not on the main roster, but on NXT to challenge Roxanne. And I'm based on what you told me about Julia and what I've been hearing about Julia, I hope it's Julia that's going to be the one to unseat her.
Yeah.
However, if it's not her, and while she's holding up the title, AJ's old music plays and you see her come out, the roof going to come off the place. And I would love to see AJ back. I loved AJ when she was a wrestler, because she was authentic. I loved her, just her being her, and it's not comic book style. Everything she said, you felt it. And everybody who was in the ring with her felt it. You can tell, because their reactions were authentic. That wasn't canned as it is so much now. And I remember one of my favorite lines of AJ's was when she told Nikki Bella, I believe, when talking about her relationship with John Cena, referring to it, telling her that some wrestling talent isn't sexually transmitted. And I was like, wow. And the whole crowd was the same way. It's like she just had lines that would put everybody down. It was just so good. So I hope to see her back. Just everything about her was just amazing. I want to see her back so bad. So, I'm rooting for Julia, but if this is the gateway for AJ, I'm all about it. And so this whole segment, A plus plus in my book.
Yep. Lyra and Tatum, Paxley got a win over Wendy Chu and Rosemary. So it looks like they're kind of moving ahead with that. Hammerstone got another. He was on last week, Greg. Couldn't finish the job against Oba Femi, but some people have brought up that it looks like they're doing a Rocky story with Tony D'Angelo, Greg.
Yeah.
So could Tony unseat Oba maybe down the road?
It looks like that's where they're going. Yeah.
Because people, somebody did a side by side. It was funny, like maybe Rocky 2, and some of they almost used some of the same exact dialogue for Tony D'Angelo. So that maybe that probably would call up Oba, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs an NXT title run at this rate, right? I mean, he's pretty much established himself with that North American title, and I think he's already had one of the longer reigns. So I think if he loses to Tony, then I think you could call him up, and even maybe sooner rather than later type deal. Don't let him, doesn't need to do the going on his back out of NXT, Greg. So maybe Tony D'Angelo is the one to unseat Oba.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the or the Netflix transition happened at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably going to be looking to fatten the roster.
Yeah.
Probably on SmackDown,
Mm-hmm.
and he would be a great ad
Yeah.
for SmackDown. And now we're having, you know, loser leaves matches.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all to, get the roster started without having another formal draft.
Mm-hmm.
So, and call ups can happen anytime. So it doesn't have to be, day after WrestleMania or in the draft. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this may be a way to, bring him up and because, like I said, he's ready. I mean, he's shown his worth. He's shown how good he is in the ring. He's on the mic. He's the complete package, and he would be perfect on SmackDown. Give him a good juicy rivalry. So I think that's what they're shooting for. Probably by the end of the year, Tony D'Angelo is going to get that strap off of him,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll see Oba on Netflix right at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We got Eddie Thorpe picking up a big win. Javon Evans and Cedric Alexander picking up a win. The big story for Javon, bouncy OG Greg, he gets Randy Orton in St. Louis. I mean, if that doesn't tell us how much they're behind Javon Evans, Greg, I don't know what else will, right?
Yeah,
So,
did not see that coming.
did not
But,
see that come. No.
all the people to have your big shot against Randy Orton. Like, welcome to the show, kid.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about somebody else who may be ready to come up already. Kid is impressive. I mean, he's pulling off moves for somebody his size that, he's bouncy and everything, but he's over over the wall bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to go over huge on the main roster. Um, so, it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a great match. Randy works great with everybody, and he's going to make him look like $1,000,000. Um, and not just because of the racial factor. I'm thinking of the rivalry he had with Kofi. And
Mm-hmm.
Kofi was kind of in a similar stage of his career
Yeah,
as
that's good. Yeah.
Javon is right now.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
good comparison.
and I think that rivalry with Randy catapulted Kofi
Mm-hmm.
um, a few levels up. And I think it's going to do the same thing for Javon once they put down their own banger. Um, so I'm excited for Javon. The match is going to hit hard and it's going to be awesome. So, it's going to be a great welcome to the show. But uh, we can,
He's gonna get
make
the Randy
predictions of
Orton
what's going to
seal.
happen. But
Yeah, he's gonna get the seal of approval afterwards, though, from
for
Randy.
sure, no doubt about it.
And I think that's a telling sign of where we could see Javon Evans go here soon.
Yeah.
Looks like Brooke Jensen is going to get Sean Spears as kind of his mouthpiece slash mentor. Greg, I kind of forgot Sean Spears is hurt because he was in an arm sling, so I forgot that happened. So Brooke Jensen picks the win. Lola Vice seems like she's been a little bit down, Greg, after she was pretty high up there for a little bit. Now it's like they're doing the whole what's gonna slow her down a little bit, see what she's got. She's messing up with fatal influence. Almost feels like they're putting JC Jane in the Mandy Rose spot now, Greg.
Yeah,
They're definitely giving her a shot to see what she could do. Guess it'd be fun if we could bring back Mandy Rose and maybe Mandy could just be part of that group and kind of get her aura back. But yeah, JC Jane getting a big shot there as a leader of a faction and see where she can go from there. So any kind of thoughts on those kind of two matches, where those two Brooks Jensen going ahead and then maybe JC Jane moving ahead?
Yeah, Brooks definitely needs somebody to speak up for him, and um, Sean Spears is a good guy to do that. He's good on the mic, and it can help him a little bit. I like we're seeing his heel side manifest itself. Is doing a good job at that. It's going to take some more time for him, and this is a perfect way to do it. So I'm here to see that evolution. Hopefully it works out.
Mhm.
And then, I've been off of the fatal influence um, train just because it's too much of a Dollar General version of Fate or Toxic Attraction.
I was trying
I
to remember
mean,
what their name was, and I didn't want to say it because I forgot. So
yeah,
I was
like the names are too similar.
gonna
Fatal to
say Fatal
Toxic.
Attraction, and it's like, well, I know that's a movie, Greg, with
Right.
Glenn Close and Michael Douglas, where she puts the rabbit in the stew. So yeah, definitely not that one.
Yeah. Um, and it just seems to be too much of a knockoff for my taste.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the name just doesn't hit right. I mean,
yeah.
it just sounds stupid. Um,
At least it's no
but
Pure Vision Collective.
that's a good point.
In
Very
our
good
name
point.
of that feels like a AI generated one, Greg.
Right. Your wrestling name generator.
Yeah,
Um, so we'll see what happens with him. I'm not shutting the door on him. I want everybody to succeed and be awesome, and
yeah,
we get just wall to wall amazing content.
yeah.
So I don't dig it, but I'm still watching it to see if it can stand on its own.
Mhm.
And right now I'm not feeling it, but who knows?
Yeah,
We've gone from dislike to like on many
yeah.
characters and factions and everything. So, well, I'm just at a wait and see about him.
I mean, look at Mandy Rose as a good case of where it just took a big character change for her. I think for people to really start buying into her because she had that big botch at WrestleMania. She trips on the stage, and I think people thought
Mm.
that would be the kind of end of her. That was it. That's what we're going to remember her for. So
Yeah,
I guess that's a downfall too. I found Henley still kind of dressing in the cowgirl stuff, Greg. So it's not like she's that much different, other than just
right.
being a meanie on the mic. And it's not like JC Jane has changed at all, Greg. Right?
No,
I
not at
mean,
all.
it's day one. Her. So I mean, I guess the big thing is they're just trying to get Jasmine Nix over. That seems to be the goal of this. Try to get her to a new level. But like you said, I just think there's too many parallels to the toxic attraction, and just not enough shifting away from who they were. I mean, they're embracing it, obviously, but
Hmm.
uh, sometimes you need to shift away from what you were to really get going. So,
Yeah.
all right, some SmackDown stuff. A lot of segments, a lot of just segment stuff, Greg. But LA Knight, really good match with Andrade. I
Yep.
mean, if we could ever figure out Andrade, like maybe some character behind him, Greg, I think he could really take off. Um, I mean, the crowd's still reacting to him good, and we're going to get match number five. Is it five
I think so. Yeah.
with Mello? Because or no, yeah, because it's 3-2, or no, it's 2-1. So maybe match four because they're 2-1 or 3-2.
Mhm.
Either way, I do like how they're saying match number whatever it is, and so we're going to get another banker out of we're going to ride the wheels of Andrade and Carmelo till they don't work, right? With this kind of rivalry, Greg. So, but LA Knight getting over. I guess it'll just be interesting to see who comes next. I wonder if you maybe shift to Mello, and just kind of let that ride Mello and LA Knight for a couple matches, and then see where we're at here in a couple months, Greg.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of those rivalries that I wish had a backstory to it, other than they had a quick little dust up backstage and automatically you have a match. I think of back in the old NWA days, the territory days, where and the one I think of first and foremost is Magnum TA and Nikita Koloff had a best of seven series,
Mm, yeah.
and it was for the United States Championship.
Mhm.
And so every week you had another match, and it was match one, match two, match three, if needed, match four, and so on. And the the anticipation was built in. We knew that match was coming. We knew what the stakes were, and we knew who the performers were, and we were looking forward to it. It's going to be a banger, and that was pretty much guaranteed. And they always gave it to us. And if they had done something similar to that with this, um, Andrade and Carmelo, and we're going to have a best of 7 series, and on the line is this, a title shot, um, a Money in the Bank ish type of stipulation, something like that. And so we know why they're fighting each other so many times,
Yeah.
and trading back and forth. Um, we'll be more into it.
Yeah.
I mean, but the fact there's no story, they're not getting time on the mic to, talk themselves up, talk up the rivalry that is getting lost in the shuffle. So I think that's something they could have done better. But the matches have been good. They've been, um, real solid. But I think what would have really put it over the top is if you put some stakes on it, put a reason for them to be in there for so many times, other than, I beat you, it's my turn, and have it go back and forth so much without it being a blood feud.
Yeah.
So, I also watch it. It just, it catches you off guard because it's not every week. It seems to happen every other week, or maybe 2 weeks in a row, and then you have 2 weeks off, and then you have another one.
Yeah.
So it's just real.
That could be the third hour. That could give us that extra time to put on this on there. So
yeah. So, and I wish that, like you said, Andrade did have a purpose for, what he's doing. Give him some time to state his business, so we can all understand what his motive is, because that's an integral part of, getting over.
I I pair him with Charlotte on TV, Greg. Let her speak for him, and just say they want to be a power couple type deal and see where that could go. But
Yeah.
what about the cinema? That's the buzzword these days, Greg. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. I love that WWE is embracing these, segments that you take some time to film, give it a couple, production shots. They're gonna be on the same page come Bad Blood, and then we'll see where the chips may fall after that, Greg. But really cool moment. Pretty cool for Georgia Tech. To open up the field and say, hey, you guys can have this. Do with it. Have a little sit down or face to face, and there we go. We're off and running. And Cody Rhodes obviously had a moment at the end of the night, Greg. So I guess we'll kind of jump into that as well. But we'll start with this first, and then we'll maybe go there because I think Giovanni Vinci's already dead in the water, but that's a whole nother segment too, Greg. So, but first we'll start with Cody and Roman. Really cool segment, kind of cinema-esque piece that they did there.
Yeah, it was a throwback to the COVID era.
Yeah. One of the good things to come out.
Yeah, and
not much, but
it was. I loved it. It was awesome. Having a neutral field, literally, instead of doing it in the middle of the ring and having all the crowd interrupt and the what's and all that stuff. It was a great touch, and building the tension with the background music, and just being able to clearly hear and understand everything that was portrayed, getting the real tight close-ups with the facials. Everything was movie quality. And then the promo they cut on each other was excellent. A plus for both of them.
Yeah.
I hope they do more like that with some of the other characters in their big storylines. But this was A plus all the way around. Loved it.
Yep. Yeah, Vinci, is he dead in the water? Yes or no, Greg?
Yeah, they're. I don't know if he's going to be a member of the job squad already, because usually your debut, you stack a few wins, and he's taken the fastest L's in his history. Um, so yeah, I think he maybe get run right back out the door, and maybe that's a pivot for him to do something completely different. So yeah,
I don't
it's dead
know.
though.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, and I thought we had. I think I did see some rumor roundup that like some people in the back just weren't too happy with how he came across. So, well, no shit, you gave him a squash match, like, and then you make him lose this match, Greg. So yeah, kind of hard to come across in a good light if you're not given that chance to be in a good light. So, we had all kinds of stuff with the bloodline. So essentially, it was going to be DIY, which I was really hoping, that would be a good spot for them, Greg, to work with Kevin Owens, because I think it's been a while since they've kind of all worked together. I know they came up in the indie scene and PWG. They were meant. They're. You could type in all three of those names, Greg, and find matches against each other, with each other. So if you're ever jonesing for like a different type of wrestling stuff to look up, type in PWG. But anyways, uh, the bloodline guys, they were jumping everybody backstage, Greg. Jacob Fatu was jumping security guards, even though they were going off. We had Tonga finally do a promo with his Greg. I practiced that all night to get ready for it, but anyways,
Very nice.
it ended up being KO and the Street Profits because DIY got taken out. That ended up at no contest because eventually the referee said it held with it. I'm not not giving this match a winner. But Greg, the biggest story, we almost saw KO pull the trigger, didn't we?
Yep, he's thinking about it, and I thought
Does he do that bad blood?
And Cody had his back turned way more than long enough, and
yeah,
is it going to happen at Bad Blood? I don't see it.
I guess if you end the night with that, Greg, then KO has to come out and turn on him, right?
Yeah, after the match is over, he slides in the ring and chair shot across the head.
If he's gonna or he's trying to come help him, but instead he just takes him out.
Accidentally knocks him out with the chair, or just accidentally knocks him out with the chair.
I don't know, but I mean, I feel like if there's going to be a moment, if it's going to main event, I feel like we need more than just like you said.
Yeah.
KO Roman and Cody standing tall, or just the bloodline beating them up and moving on. There's definitely the wheels could turn for the KO and Cody stuff more.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I agree with you. Like something big has to happen at the end of the match, at the end of the night, if it's Cody and Roman.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of going to be the tell, to use the poker term, but that's going to be the tell. But we can feel it, we can see it. It's coming. But Triple H loves these slow burns.
He does, and it could happen. Yeah, it could take longer.
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't take too long, then when it happens, the place is going to go nuts. So I think that's the whole point.
Yeah.
How
about the Bailey and Naomi? So I guess we're getting a three-way match, Greg, because they both got the pin. I did like the extra stakes where, they would say is they added Texas Tornado, so that one, Nick. Another good positive of the Triple H era in the promos, like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sometimes they use, they're like bringing logic into things, Greg.
Yeah.
Nick Aldis explained in a little, minute segment on WWE.com or wherever it was on Twitter. Hey, what's to say Bailey doesn't knock out Naomi and vice versa? So to stop that, we're going to do this. So, yeah. I mean, just those little things that give you extra logic behind the matches is huge. But I'm still calling for Tiffany to cash that thing in sooner rather than later. And now, if you have Bailey and Naomi teaming up on Nia, Greg, and maybe even though Nia wins, she's down for the count. She's kind of downhearted or down. it gives you an extra reason to have Tiffany cash in. So
Right.
I'll throw it out there now, Greg. Bold prediction: Tiffany Stratton comes out as the champion at Bad Blood.
Hey, I love the sound of
And then
it.
we get our pretty deadly musical with Tiffany Stratton.
That's the celebration right there.
That's a celebration.
Hey,
anyways.
if it happens, I'd love it because I'm all about Tiffany Stratton now, and as I said, talking about characters that I wasn't in on at the beginning and am now. She is definitely one of the top of the list. Her evolution from day one to right now, she's done amazing. So I hope it happens. I don't. Well, I'll say that for the prediction show, but yeah, if it happens, I'll be all for it, and I know the place is going to go crazy for her. So I'm going to miss seeing her with her customized Money in the Bank purse. Yeah, but seeing that strap in its place would be suitable enough.
Yeah, there's definitely 2 or 3 assets, Greg, that Tiffany brings to the ring.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways, by the way, Natalia, I think she got her assets enhanced, Greg. Have you noticed that? Because man, she is looking a little bit bigger in certain areas. But anyways,
I kind of thought that too.
Okay.
Sure,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I was thinking back to the Total Divas days, and
Yeah.
when she was walking around in regular clothes, like
She was not. She wasn't as enhanced back then, right? I mean, now it's prominent.
Right.
So, if you ever want to see her and her sister, that is quite the duo there, Greg. So,
oh man, that sister, holy cow!
yeah.
You saw Big E was down with her. I was like, man, she is fine. So.
Of course, we know Big E has his Mia Yim sister right now, though. So that runs in the family there. So,
oh, is that right?
yeah. I remember they put Christmas pictures from J.C. Penney as their official coming out as a couple. So,
That's cool.
J.C. Penney's letting you do the kind of old school pictures where you could kind of find different backgrounds.
Yeah, the old portrait studio.
Yes. So, because anyway, that's a whole other tangent. I was talking to people about that, Greg, and I'm like, I don't know if families do that as much anymore. Is go around and get pictures taken. I mean, I've seen it every once in a while. Back in our day, you were like every family was like booking Olin Mills and Sears and J.C. Penney, like your mom and dad. And well, my dad didn't really care that we were dressed up or not, but my mom make us all get in our fancy wear and go take those quick pictures. Good times. But all right, how about some AEW stuff? So I guess we didn't get a chance to talk all out, Greg. A couple big things happened at All Out. So MJF did defeat Daniel Garcia, but of course Garcia got the upper hand. We're going to MJF apparently is all filming a movie now, Greg. So I love that he just said that on Twitter. He's like, somebody was asking about a contract, or no, they were mentioning a contract and mentioned his name because all these guys vanity search themselves, Greg. But he put the last line, "Yeah, I'm off TV to film it right now." So not sure when we'll get the next Garcia MJF, but I'm all in for it. I kind of wanted to get to the big stuff at the end, Greg, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We can kind of hit some things here and there. Any kind of quick thought on Garcia? I mean, I thought it was a really solid match. I still hope Daniel Garcia gets the win in the end.
Yeah, and that I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
This is a way to ignite the rivalry, and if Garcia comes back and automatically gets the win, what's the point? So, to take down an MJF is going to take a minute. So, and MJF has to resort to all the trickeration that he can to get the win. Yeah. So that adds some credibility for Garcia. And I just love it. I think the finish was he kind of lost control and cost himself the match, right? It wasn't him actually getting beat. He caused his own downfall, which is a good way to go at it. You went in too emotional,
Yeah.
and then it cost him the victory.
Mhm.
So once he gets that reined in and can harness it effectively, then he's going to be able to beat MJF. But it's going to be a slow climb up the top of that mountain.
Mhm.
And you know, after this first match, you want to see more of it. So it was a good way to start it off.
Mhm. The Young Bucks did defeat Blackpool Combat Club, Greg, but that was not the end of the Blackpool Combat Club's night, as we would see later on. I guess we'll just get into it. So Brian Danielson defeats Jack Perry, and everybody was lovey-dovey, Greg, which I thought that's weird because we hadn't seen Moxley with Blackpool Combat Club yet.
Right.
And boy, did we see it. So it ended up with a plastic bag over Daniel or Brian Danielson because he hates plastic, Greg. So that was a good way to play into that. But was it too much?
Yeah, it was. There's a reason they don't do this in a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
So they were in on the shock value.
Yeah.
Um, when I saw that, I was like, okay, what's he gonna do at the back? Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
that's gangster movie,
Yeah.
Scarface stuff right there, and
Yeah.
they're trying to suffocate him to death. And the crowd starts chanting, "This is murder!" So
Yeah.
it's
And I
uh,
mean the emotion of Pac holding Wheeler back. I mean, and it did play out. It just felt like it just. I know. I guess it's just that thing. Like it felt like forever, but it probably really wasn't. Just because you hadn't seen anything. We have. It's been a while, probably since we've really seen something like that on TV. And I
yeah,
think, in hindsight, having the set, having the big needle shot with Swerve and Adam Page, Greg. I think that's all. I was like, okay, you just gave us two big, like that, and that also goes back to AEW. Sometimes we no offense, pun intended or whatever. We don't let things breathe because you try to outdo the last thing. So it's like,
yeah,
if this would have been the final shot, or if that other thing's up, I don't think it would have been too much. But yeah. Anyways, so Will
yeah.
Ospreay defeats Pac. Solid match there. Chris Statlander. I thought this was for the CMLL title, but apparently not, Greg. Which is why Chris Statlander won. I'm guessing you're not on Okada's train yet because I just thought I felt like Okada just was like sailing through that match.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't see what's so special about him, and I want to see it. I'm looking for it,
Yeah,
and it's just I don't get it. I
yeah.
mean, I'm not gonna go and start pulling up his New Japan matches just so I can see it. I want to see
Oh
it
yeah,
now.
yeah.
I can go back to the archives and watch all Ric Flair's old matches and fall in love with them all over again. But that's
Doesn't
not
mean
the
Ric
point.
Flair should get in the ring at 70, whatever he is, Greg. Though.
Right.
Hulk Hogan at 60 something wanted to try to, one more match as the old what was that the Christian phrase for a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
one more match.
Yeah, so
Uh, but I want to see what Okada can do right now. I mean, he's
yeah,
still in his prime, and if he's as good as everybody says he is, I want to see it, and I
yeah.
still don't see it. So I'm still waiting for it. One day, like I said, maybe when Kenny Omega comes back, and we'll get to see what he could truly do. But
Mhm.
in like I said, he looks like he's just coasting through right now, just riding the coattails of the elite.
Mhm.
And I thought Pac and Osprey was probably match of the night,
Yeah.
just from a wrestling standpoint. It was amazing.
Mhm.
Um, just back and forth, and multiple times you thought either guy could win
Mhm.
and take the title. It created that much doubt. You figured Osprey was going to win, but after seeing this match unfold, there was a
Mhm.
couple times that I thought we were going to have a new champion,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the whole point. So, love this match, and like I said, from a technically just wrestling standpoint, um, match
There's
of
a
the
lot
night.
going on.
Yeah,
One, and I think the segment with Brian Danielson, damn it. One of these days I will not get those names in my mouth. But anyways, Now we see the lines, and we kept saying Pac is out of line, like he doesn't fit with the Blackpool Combat Club. Well, now now we
Now he
see
does.
why, and and then we didn't know where Moxley was going. Now we know why, and I think putting Cesaro in there is huge for him because we've been waiting for him to finally have something he can, you know, elevate his game to. I guess the question: does Will or Yuta fall in line, Greg, or does he? I feel like he's going to be better suited to kind of side with Brian Danielson, though, right?
Yeah, and that's the big question now. And uh, aside from the bag, that in the end of that match was great. Was great theater.
Mm-hmm.
Um, holding Yuta back, and while Moxley does his damage,
Mm-hmm.
I love that aspect of it. And it's like, we're not here for you, kid. We're here for him, and just hold him back and don't let him do any damage. And
Yeah.
um, Wheeler doing his best to get at him and can't do it, creates that sense of despair, and you kind of feel what he's feeling. I love what they did right there. I think it would have been more effective if Moxley had just had a dragon sleeper on him or the bulldog choke and just held it on too long, kind of thing. Could have had the same effect.
Yeah.
Um, so the bag was a bit over the top, but um,
But hey,
now Yuta.
Brian Danielson hates plastic, Greg. So there.
Yeah, and I didn't think about that aspect of it. So that is kind of
I I didn't
not
I
funny,
didn't think
but
about it either until
ironic.
people brought it up. People were going with Twitter. And it's like, well, he is a pretty hardcore vegan, so yeah, I
Yeah.
could see him hating plastic. He is
So
definitely not a. I bet he's not a straw person, Greg.
yeah, there you go.
Or paper
Uh,
straw. Paper straw.
Organic straws, bamboo
Yeah.
straws.
Yeah.
Um,
The metal straws. So
I think Yuta now is his decision, and I think he's going to end up with Brian Danielson, and Danielson is going to put his own
stamp on it.
um, crew together to come back at the BCC, because you can't just let that go.
Yeah.
And you come back, you get your warm up reintroduction against Nigel next week.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to be ready to get in the ring and declare war. So
Mm-hmm.
he's going to need an army on his side too, and
Yeah.
you're just going to be the first one in. So that's what I'm feeling. But if
Mm-hmm.
Yuta goes to the dark side and um, makes the odds even deeper for him, that would be an interesting angle too. But I just think Yuga's going to stay loyal with Brian, because
Yeah.
off his reactions, off what was happening to him, that he's going to want to get revenge for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I don't think Will or Yeet needs that heel turn yet.
No,
Maybe he could eventually have to do it. But right now, I think it makes more sense to keep him on that. Mercedes Monet picked up a win. What I don't even know where to start with Hangman and Swerve. There were so many damn spots in this match, Greg. The needle spot though was the one that, of course, everybody talked about because it was just weird. Like
yeah,
it like we said, I think trying to set him on fire would have made more sense because that's where you're going with things.
right.
Unless there was a backstory that we missed about, maybe Swerve's family had um, addicted members in his family or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But and then like the aftermath where Hangman is just on the stage, lets out the visceral cry of "I did it" type stuff, Greg. That was big, but and we wondered how they bring in the weapons. Well, they brought in the weapons. They brought in toolbox of stuff. They had all. I mean, it was just the kitchen sink. I was surprised was not there, Greg, but they definitely tore each other apart in that match. And nice of Swerve to get the break from TV for a little bit. It does
Yeah,
sound like he'll be back sooner rather than later. It was just time off, just for obviously probably need his body to recover, Greg. But
God, yeah,
also I think Swerve has definitely earned it. Um, so yeah, but uh, it's been 2 weeks now, Greg. So sorry, I can't remember many of the spots. But I should have.
no, for sure.
I wish I would have rewatched it. But anyway, so Um, Hangman gets the win in the end. That's the ultimate story right there.
Yeah, there was some spots in there I really gave me flashbacks to other matches, and I think maybe it was intentional.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I like them bringing their own plunder into the cage when they on their walkout.
Yeah.
Um, the toolbox. Everybody's wondering what's in the box.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, a piece of the charred house that Hangman burned down was part of it.
Yeah.
And he tries to stick it right in through Swerve's forehead. And it made me think of the I Quit match, my favorite match ever.
Yeah.
With Magnum and Tully, and the way that match ended with Magnum taking a leg off the chair,
Mm-hmm.
and you just see the shards from the broken leg, and he's on Tully, and he's about to press that chair leg into his eye, sharp in first, and that's where Tully says, "I quit," and that made me think of that moment when Hangman's on top of Swerve, and he's got that chair leg or the that wooden splinter, and it's about yay thick, and he's trying to jam it into him. That looked like a throwback to that spot.
Yeah.
Um, a piece of burned wood sharpened to a point, almost
Mm-hmm.
all charred and black. And that was a great moment. Um, like I said, got me flashing back to a different match. They were going to see the staple guns. That
Yeah.
at this point, staple gunning a picture of Swerve's family on
Yeah.
Hangman's face. Um, and then the cinder block,
Mm-hmm.
dropping him on the cinder block, and that was a real cinder block. You could
Yeah.
tell by, Hangman got dropped on it, and you could see the giant scar on his back.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he almost folded Swerve in half over the cinder block, and it did not crumble, not an inch. Um, and then the needle shot that was the moment that got me like, okay, this is new.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if it's happened in a match before, I've never seen it. And how many matches have we rolled through? So, and he takes it out, and he takes the cap off. I'm like, oh crap! And I'm sure the whole audience at that moment is thinking the same thing, because I can see if he pulled it out and he sticks it in, and they cover up the fact that he never took the cap off. But no, he was very um, deliberate in showing he's taking the cap off and flick it into the crowd. Um,
Yeah.
and then he jams it in his Swerve's face, and I'm kind of waiting for the other end of it to come out of his face. Um, so thankfully that didn't happen. But message sent.
Message received.
He just injected Swerve with something. You're like, oh crap! And then that chair shot to finish it was brutal. Just no hands up to protect him, and just wrap that chair right around his head. And if he's gonna go down, that's the way to go down. Um, just brutal, violent on so many levels. You know me, I love the violence. Uh, Even for me, that was like, holy crap, and just kind of sit back from the TV for a minute, because like, what are we watching? So I loved it, and if like I said, if it wasn't for the excess in at the end of the Danielson match, I think it would have hit even harder. Um, but since we already seen one near murder in the ring before this match,
We don't need two.
right?
Two's excessive.
Yeah. So, uh, but now Hangman's got his payback, and uh, but he's still angry. So, and like I said last week or week before last, this is still my favorite Hangman. Just
Yeah.
just no F's given, and he is on a mission. And now that Swerve's out, he's going to take care of everybody that Swerve associated with. So um, I want to see more of what he's going to do. And eventually, when Swerve comes back, hopefully he gets 3-4 months off, and then we can ignite this one more time. But like, where do you go after this?
Yeah.
So um, in a way, I hope it carries on, and in a way, I hope that was it.
That was
And
it, yeah.
they can pivot on to something else.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, one of them will end up dead. Because you're getting everything except that kitchen sink in their matches. So
Yeah.
definitely most violent match of the year for sure. I think the people in GCW were watching and they were jealous.
Yeah.
Speaking of GCW and that type of violence, when Willow hits that with the
Light tubes,
light
right?
tubes,
Yeah.
like, man, I want to give a GCW chant
Yeah.
right
We
there
haven't seen that.
because
We haven't seen that in a little bit.
no, I don't think we've seen that in the outside of GCW. So
Well, I
maybe you seen
thought,
it, but
did Nick Cage and Jericho have it in theirs? Maybe.
maybe I
I
can't.
know they had a pizza cutter. They
Yeah, they
definitely had a
definitely have the
pizza
pizza
cutter.
cutter.
And
I
maybe
think
they
that may
did.
have been the light tube.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
But either way, for women, like we haven't seen it on the women's side, that
yeah,
was a really, really good street fight there.
that was pretty
Chicago
awesome.
street
That
fight,
was a great
sorry.
street fight.
Not to be confused with the Miami street fight or the Indianapolis street fight or the Phoenix street fight. So
Yeah,
all different. So. Um, Miro asked for his request to be gone. Not surprising, I don't think, Greg, but I guess we'll see if they actually do that. But I guess there was some talk that Miro wanted to work with Moxley. I'm sure that was met with deaf ears, Greg. But um, so yeah, I'm speaking of GCW. Do we maybe see him there? I feel like that's kind of the limbo, Greg. Maybe kind of reinvent himself and maybe get back into WWE, or do we think we see him just trying to crawl back to WWE, Greg?
yeah, and it's disappointing because I love the Redeemer.
Yeah,
Those promos were amazing, and just everything was set up for success. I think. Um, and while they were rolling with it, it was great. We were loving it. We was here for those promos, and the matches were good. And then Tony Khan just, okay, I'm good. I'm done with it. And we didn't see anything. I know he got injured, but he's been back for a while and healthy, and he hasn't had anything to do. So I understand why he's wanting to get out. If you're not gonna put me to work, then why am I here? Wrestlers want to wrestle, so even if it means staying at home and collecting the paycheck, which I don't think we would have a problem with, but if I'm a pro athlete and I don't get on the field, I'm not happy about it. So I get it, and not ironically, CJ hasn't been on TV either. So
and
um,
she did get released. She was
she did get
officially,
released. Okay, so
because it's funny because they show like the Andrade Miro like match, and it's like, oh yeah, all three, and I think she was in the like was she I think she was with Andrade, so they were like, yeah, all three people gone right now. So
yeah, so uh, I hope he gets some release, and I think if he does, he's going to
yeah,
try to get back to WWE.
yeah,
Maybe do the Rusev thing again. Rusev Day was a huge thing, and I'm sure Triple H would be open to bringing it back. So I think that's the next step. Whether it works or not, we'll see. But if I was him, that's what I would do.
and I guess I wonder too. Like I said, I think the GCW thing is like look what it did for Matt Cardona. So who knows? Maybe Miro could really work on a new character outside of stuff he's done. Because like you said, the Redeemer, like it definitely was different, very religious esque, but in a kind of an eerie way type deal.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, some stuff happened on Dynamite. So Orange Cassidy with a roll of quarters, Greg defeats Jericho. So I guess we're not done with that feud yet, are we?
Nope. We're establishing a theme with these coins.
Yeah.
Destroys Jericho's car with the coins, and now knocks him out with a roll of quarters that Jericho brought in to his own detriment. And yeah, we're off and running on something else with these two.
Hook defeated some guy named Ink. So there you go. That happened. Um, Queen Amanada got a win. They won by DQ. But Ricochet, we're going to get, Greg, Will Ospreay and Ricochet, what, in 2 weeks?
Yep, 2 weeks.
So does Ricochet... Yeah, wonder where Ricochet goes out. Like, we're already just going to kind of, what's the old term? Shooting our load? Like, I'm very... Do we want to see it already, Greg?
I know. I thought they would build it up a little bit more and, get Ricochet some more momentum. I mean, beating 3 low-level stars isn't really catapult to the top, but
Yeah.
if you do a good enough job of, those two going at each other face to face like they did in the backstage segment, and bring it out backstage, put it in the ring. And this is Ricochet's kryptonite. It's been weak on the mic, but if you can get in the ring with Ospreay and then cut a fire promo, you change the whole narrative around yourself, and people are going to want to see it. So, 2 weeks, that gives you time to do that in the ring in front of everybody and see how the people are feeling about it. So, he's a shiny new toy and everybody's digging it. Take advantage of it. Put him in the ring, let him cut a fire promo and get that real tension with him and Ospreay, and then boom, you got your big match next week. So I'm hoping that's what happens because I'm a Ricochet guy. I've always been a Ricochet guy. But he needs to get right on the stick. So there's no doubt about that. But otherwise, I want to see them reprise that what I saw called the fastest match ever with those two. Do it again for the large audience, and you can blow them both up as if Ospreay needs to be blown up anymore. He's already probably the most over guy in the company right now, but it could work wonders for Ricochet.
Speaking of Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, and Takeshita got the win over the Elite. What do we think's going to happen, Greg? We got Fletcher and Ospreay against the Elite, the Young Bucks, for the tag team titles. Fletcher has not won any titles yet, Greg. Is this it? Is he going to win one? And if not, does he just turn on Ospreay and go to the dark side with Don Callis now, finally? Because he's never kind of been a true heel, right? I mean, I guess he's kind of been heel-ish, but, I think this would be a death kill for him to see where he could go.
Yeah, he's been heel adjacent for sure.
Yes.
I think that they're going to lose, but I'm feeling that Takeshita is going to be the reason that they lose.
Yeah.
That he's going to either cheap shot Ospreay and cause him to take the fall for that, more so than Fletcher turning on Ospreay, which I can see also, send him all the way to the dark side. If you're with Don Callis, you're already on the dark side. But I think Takeshita is the one who has the beef and doesn't want Ospreay to be there.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be the reason they lose the match.
Here's some Rampage results. So Mark Briscoe defeats the Bounty Hunter, Greg. Weir Yuta got a win. Sheeta got a win. The big story there, though, was we're going to get a Saraya Rules match, Greg. So is this like the I win, you lose type stuff where, we're just going to have some way that Saraya will make up rules throughout the match for her and Jamie Hayter, right?
I'm curious to see how that's going to happen because we don't know what that match is going to entail. But if Saraya's in it, I'm watching because I love that girl, and I've wanted her to do better than she has.
Yeah,
she's kind of, once she made her return, she was kind of discarded. She won the championship right when she got back over in England.
Yeah,
and then lost it, and that's been it. She's been on the milk carton pretty much since then, as far as getting real, good matches, good booking. just been kind of forgotten.
Mhm.
Did the Outcast thing and that fell flat, and she's just been kind of languishing backstage with Harley Cameron and just doing, little 5 minute nothing matches. So uh, I hope she's getting a little better treatment now, and this is going to evolve into something, or maybe she's working out her contract and we'll see her back in WWE soon. So
Yeah.
I'm curious what her contract status is right now.
Mhm.
But I figure if she's made her re-debut a year ago,
Mhm.
so I can imagine that if she was coming back, she probably would have done a multi-year contract. But um, we don't know for sure. So maybe in a prove it year and then the see.
Yep.
Um, if your neck holds up, if your body holds up, yada yada.
Mhm.
So, um, but I'll be watching because I hope this match turns into something and she, gets booked better.
Yeah. Yep. The Beast Mortos and Roderick Strong picked up a big win. And then Nick Wayne, I feel like we haven't seen him in a one-on-one match or singles match. That this is a fatal four-way with Greg, but he did defeat Kip Sabian. He was on a paper bag for a little bit.
Yeah,
Leo Rush and Rocky Romero. So what better way to kind of get Nick Wayne back in the win column than kind of throwing him with some high flyers and guys he can work with there. That was Rampage. Looking forward to tonight. We have FTR with the Outrunners. Man, they are getting over, even though it's such a gimmicky 80s thing, Greg.
yeah,
And then they got Hook, and they're going to go against Roderick Strong, the Beast Mordos, Rush, or Roof, sorry, and the Girls Young Veterans. So those good old 5-man, 10-man all-star matches, Greg, that they keep going for us. But you will love this bunkhouse brawl. They've done that a couple times on Collision, Greg. So we're going to get Dusty Rhodes and Sammy Guevara versus the Kingdom. Darby Allin kind of tuning up for his big match against Moxley. Does he beat Moxley, Greg? Do you think?
no, I don't
No.
think so. This is all set up for Moxley to have that match with Danielson and
Wrestle at Wrestle
retire.
Dream. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
what that kind of feels like where it's going. So then Mariah May, she's looking for Mina. She wants her running partner back. She's been getting Lady Frost. So that is that. Some last call stuff I had. What about Brian Danielson and Nigel McGuinness, Greg? We're going to see it. A little bit older and wiser, so I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be something to watch because people have shared some clips from their old matches in Ring of Honor. So now that they're both kind of not past their prime, but they know how to work matches. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they work a match now versus those Ring of Honor days, right?
yeah. I mean, part of my favorite part of when Nigel's on commentary is when Daniels is in the ring and listen to Nigel just running down.
Yeah,
I still need to find what a clam digger is,
yeah,
but he uses that a lot when Daniel's in the ring and just berates him up and down and calls him every name in the book. So I've always loved that about him and how AEW will let commentators just kind of say what they want to say about certain talents. Uh, and I've never seen a Nigel McGuinness match.
hmm
Just from exposure to him, I've been made aware that he was a wrestler at one point,
hmm
and um, he's had a match with him. I don't know if it's a series of matches, but I never watched Ring of Honor until like right now.
yeah.
So um, I hope it's awesome. I loved his appearance in the was it the Casino Battle Royal.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. He looked. I mean, when I saw that, it's like he's got to come back for one match. I
Yeah,
mean, there's no way that was enough to give him that feeling of like, okay, that's it. Now I'm done.
yeah. I mean, he looked great, and the crowd loved him,
Yeah.
and that was my first time getting to see him doing anything physical. So
hmm
I was into it, and knowing the heat he has with Brian and seeing that they actually had great bangers
Yeah.
against each other. Now I'm here for it. I want to see what happens, and uh, is this going to make him any less salty against Danielson moving forward? Probably not, but I think it's going to be an awesome match. So
I guess, like you said, and I think the big thing will be if Moxley wins earlier in the night, then Moxley and then we're off and running. Moxley and Danielson for Wrestle Dream. And what better way than, like we said, Washington State finish up Danielson's career and see where he goes from there. But
yeah.
I guess Christian's not going to get that title shot anytime soon, Greg.
Not if he knows what's good for him. He'll lay low like he's prone to do and wait for his opportunity.
He did try to come out. I guess we did forget to mention that. He did try to come out to cash in, Greg, at All Out. And that's where I was like, well, that's weird to see Moxley on that side. And I think that's where I was, you're wondering, like, okay, why is Moxley now? Moxley's all of a sudden a good person, or a good guy. So, and then I guess I am kind of sad for Darby Allin to get screwed out of a title shot, though. But it's Darby Allin; he'll get his title shots later. But I think Moxley and Danielson at Wrestle Dream is a perfect way to kind of ride off into the sunset for Danielson. So.
Yeah.
Any last calls for the good of the matter, Greg?
Another shout out from my Chargers to go 3-0. We got a huge test coming up with Pittsburgh tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Steelers in town, so we've had 2 cakewalks to start the year with the Raiders and the Panthers. But here's where the rubber meets the road, and running into another smash mouth team with Pittsburgh, going into their house in Pittsburgh, and seeing what happens. They've stayed on the East Coast and just taking the short flight up from Carolina up to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And so a week on the road, just the team bonding. Hopefully that pays off dividends in the game. So instead of flying back to California and flying back and having that jet lag and not getting adjusted to time, yada yada, that's going to pay off for them this way. But I'm excited for it, even though Justin's has a high ankle sprain. So get well, Justin.
Gotta keep it on that. Is there a backup guy coming in, or do we know?
Oh God, I hope not, because our backup is brutal. So
Herbert's still good to play. He's good to play tomorrow.
All signs indicate he is going to play.
Okay.
But he was put on the injury report as questionable. So we never like that.
Yeah.
But if he's sick in there, it is a worst case scenario. His leg must be about to fall off. Yeah. So Easton Stick was brutal. They put in a draft pick to get Taylor Heineke out of Washington, but he's only been on the team for 3 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks, and so he may not be ready to step in just yet, unless he's just going to sandlot some plays. Yeah. And so we're all keeping our fingers crossed and holding our breath that we're going to see Justin on the field. Otherwise, we're going to have a good back and forth, running the ball down each other's throats kind of battle. Yeah. Low scoring, old school.
In the trenches.
Defensive struggle. There you go. Maybe like a 9-6 finish. I don't know. So shout out to my Chargers. Let's keep it rolling 3-0, because next week is Kansas City after Pittsburgh. So
what jersey are you rocking there, Greg? I have a small screen, so I can't. Is that Randy Moss?
The old school Randy Moss. Okay. That's right.
It was funny because on ESPN there was the talk of jerseys and how he's one guy you can wear even if you're like, if he's never played for your team. You know how most people I'm going to only wear the jersey of my team and maybe a player I like. Randy Moss's name came up.
Yeah.
Plus he's played at a few different teams, Greg. So but I was noticing that. I was like, I just had to make sure, but I thought that was interesting tie-in because I forgot what I was listening to ESPN radio one day, and they must have Must have been short on stories, Greg, because they were talking about jerseys. So
Yeah, this
But
is the old school screen print, but I got this in the Minneapolis airport for
well,
20
there
bucks,
you go.
19.99 because there's no sales tax in
Well,
Minnesota.
if you can get a
So
jersey that cheap, go for it.
exactly,
Anymore. So
you
all
definitely
right.
can't do it anymore.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy the week. We'll be back at it next week, talking everything up and getting ready for Bad Blood. And yeah, we'll be off and running for it. So, all right. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Peace.